Oh, we have seen Joey's personality blossom
Yeah.
in the last, well, each year.
Yeah.
But he really has blossomed out. I mean, he's so animated. His animation is just, it's fun to see that.
Well, and it's
Because-
fun for me, because as a parent, you just don't know if anybody gets your kid.
Oh.
And you think, maybe they just think they're just sitting there, but they're not. They're in there.
Oh.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, that leads me to this other question. How do you think they learn best? Is each one different?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. They all have their little quirks that makes them want to learn, what is easy for them to learn. They all learn differently, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you have 3 children. None of them are the same,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Right? We have what? Anywhere from, well, this year we have 9.
Right.
9 or
Yeah.
10. And they're all different. But I have to tell you, their moods can change, their personalities can change from a good morning to a bad morning to a great night to a bad night, what I have for breakfast. And actually, believe it or not, within time we can read those signs. And you can
Definitely.
adjust it to them.
But I think too that for parents that what helps their children to learn best is to have structure in their lives. Having a schedule, the routine, so that your kids know what to expect, what's coming next, that kind of stuff. That really helps them too. That things aren't chaotic in their home, that things are normally on a schedule helps them a lot too.
Yeah.
They have to have routines.
But
But
in our
that-
classroom,
yeah.
it's very structured, the kids know what they're doing, we really stress for them to be independent, our expectations are very high.
Yeah. Well, because they can learn.
Absolutely.
Oh, everybody can learn. There's
Yeah.
no such thing as, I don't know about that one.
Yeah.
No such thing. Everybody, especially in this class, I think they're all are capable of learning.
Absolutely.
Well, that's another thing that makes you guys the greatest teachers, because you do believe that about each
Absolutely.
one. Because a lot of classrooms, just go on walks all day,
No.
and that's,
A walk would be
That's
good sometimes, believe me.
yeah,
But,
yeah.
no, I have to tell you something. This is off the beaten path. But yesterday, Julia had to go to the beach, with the 8th graders, and and I was behind with the other kids, and one of the things, we did a normal day. We did our reading, we did our math, and we did our name it, language arts games. So at the end of the day, they wanted to know, well, who is the top dog? Because on Mondays,
Oh.
we do the top dog thing.
Yeah.
And they were well, who's the top dog? It was so funny. They're so used of doing the top dog.
Yeah.
And it was all routine. And yesterday, I looked for it, and it was really there. But, the fact that it was only one day
Yeah.
before the end of the year, we let Joey be the
Oh.
top dog.
That
The
was
remaining,
nice of you
well,
again.
he was the top dog.
The week before.
We made it. So
Yeah.
it's just routine.
Well, they do know, I know, yeah, once they get an idea in their head, but we got to finish that out before we go on.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
What have you learned from them?
One, I can truly say I really appreciate them more.
Uh-huh.
And I know that sounds a little bit different, but you know what I appreciate? Their individualities. And I love the fact that they can give so much more and so much love. There's so many people who don't know that there is so much TLC in those kids. I mean, Joey, look what he just did. And look how he can be, goofy and loving and, sweet as a bug.
Yeah, well, and even the one child from last year, the wheelchair, couldn't really speak very much.
Oh, she
Still, you
really-
could see when she was so happy to see
Oh,
you, or
yes.
grateful for something you'd given for her.
It's all in
Definitely.
the eyes.
Yeah.
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 They're expressions.
Yeah.
They're so sweet.
They
You gotta
are.
love them.
Yep,
You
you gotta
do.
love them.
Well, I used to think, because you hear them sort of rambling sometimes, handicapped people, and I used to think it was just random things sort of falling out of their head. Until I had one of my own, I realized, no, he's thinking about that.
Uh-huh.
He may be talking to nobody, but that's what he's thinking about.
What I love about your son is that one of our things we do is the mystery box. What's in the mystery box? And one day it was a box of cereal. And then he brought me a box of cereal, the next
Oh.
day. He brought me an empty box of cereal.
I saw that go in the backpack. So, see, and there was a reason for it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's all connected.
And the same thing with the picture of the volcano.
Yeah.
Yeah, he cut that out of the paper. But by then I was wise enough to think, well, they must be talking about volcanoes.
We had a book, and we
Yeah.
were doing a lesson with volcanoes, and actually, we
Yeah.
thought that you sent it in.
No.
No, I knew that I knew
Because it
he
was a
had
house
did.
fire. It wasn't really a
Yeah.
volcano, it was like a house
No,
fire. or
I know, but it
something.
was
Yes,
very,
it looked-
very like the picture we saw in the
Yes.
book.
Yes,
So
and he drew
for-
the picture.
Yes, he drew the
and-
picture,
Yes.
beautiful
Yeah.
picture of it.
Yeah.
It's probably in his papers
Must
there.
be. Oh. Yeah, he's got a lot more going on than we know. Is there any advice you would give to parents just starting out on their children's education, like what questions they should ask in an IEP or if they're going to find a teacher or a classroom? What would you tell them to ask for, to look for?
I tell them to ask for the moon,
Oh,
because wherever their children go to school, the district has to provide things for them, services for them. And I think parents are afraid to ask. They shouldn't be afraid to ask, because there are so many services out there that all the kids can benefit from. And it doesn't hurt to ask. All they can do is say no.
yeah.
So ask for everything.
That's really, I remember when they told me you'll have to be an advocate for your child. I don't know what that
Absolutely.
is. I don't know how to advocate. But once I get into it, I realized I know what he wants. I know what he needs. And if that's what advocating is, then,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Definitely.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
One of the things I think is really important, especially when you have a special needs child, from early on, get to know what that disability is.
Oh.
It doesn't matter what it is. Research, research, research. You know what's best for your child. And when you go to school, you'll be prepared, at least
That's a good point.
a bit prepared, because the school has their agenda, but as a parent, you have your agenda. Make sure, and this is me, my thinking, especially with all the kids I've seen, some of the parents don't always do research on what their child's special needs are. And I feel as though if you look into that from a very early age, if they need speech at a, very, very, very young age, if you find that your child is, how is their speech patterns going to be? Hey, talk to your pediatrician, get involved, figure out what speech therapist they need, see what OT they need, any PT, anything. Get research on there, whether it's Down syndrome or MR or CP, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Research, research, research. And when you go to school and when you do have your IEPs, you're way ahead of the game.
Because you know the question.
Yeah.
And on the same thing, there are, I don't know if you guys ever belong to like a society for the Down syndrome or anything like that, but there are groups that you can learn from also, which really, really does help. And then also, I think it's so important for the kids to have playmates. You know, when you're typically developing kids are growing up, they have playmates. And our kids have a hard time finding kids to hang out with
Yeah.
and play with. And so from early on, making play dates with other kids. And if the child also has Down syndrome, that's great. But they need to be out
Yeah.
there socializing, being around other kids too.
Yeah,
And
and it's one.
That's a good point.
Definitely.
Yeah.
That's a good, yeah, I felt lucky having siblings that they were, I think that's why my son learned to speak,
Mhm.
because it was going on around him.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
that does help a lot. But
Yeah.
interaction with other children, whether it's children from your church
Yeah.
or the Boy Scouts
Yeah.
Yeah.
or Girl Scouts, whatever the gender may be,
Yeah.
you know, for the individual student, intertwining is very, very good.
Yeah, because he doesn't know he's any different than them. He thinks they're having fun too, just like him, and so he enjoys it, yeah. Well, thank you very much.
That's it?
You're the best there is.
I have to tell you, I don't
Anything
think
else, yeah.
any of the kids in here think they're different than
No,
anybody
they
else.
just think they're great, yeah.
No, I know, I can truly say that we had a student who didn't even know that he was special needs or in a special needs class.
Mhm.
And that was very interesting to hear him say that. And I thought,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, yeah.
So they're
Am I
just
in a
happy,
special needs class?
moving
Yeah.
along.
And they are.
Well, and it takes teachers that tell them they're important to make them happy.
Aw.
And that's what we appreciate about you guys. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
But Jane, you know, turn it off, but I want you to